Shalom, when the staff source by giving no praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Kwakudash, double honors to the apostles of great milestone, and honors to brothers doing the work of the most in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the real name of whom the world English calls God, Jehovah or Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh. His true name is Yahushua. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, meaning in, Ha meaning that, and Sham meaning names Yahweh and the name of Yahushua. Real quick, just wanted to just touch on something that was basically referenced in this particular video. So this is a group of Ashanti, forget the proper way of pronouncing it, men, so that's over there in the land of Ghana, right? So you can see this from the page Ghana +223, and Ghana Post just came up on my feed. I've downloaded it so we can kind of to be fair, I'm not going to click through it, so it's a long video. Just gonna go straight to the point, right? But whilst we're here, let's just read through. In fact, let me just play the clip that interested me first, and then we can jump into, I believe this is the starting point, right? Right, so having more than one wife is useful for Las Asante. Fact. There's no point even playing the audio. It's unless brothers understand Twi. So it says if you have only one wife when things go wrong, how will you manage? Right, because even the scriptures do speak about is it one word or is it two? Let's find out. It's definitely not one. Right, so let me see if I feel like there's another one that I'm thinking of. Right, this is Genesis 2:18. Right, it says, and Yahweh a power said, right, it says, it is not good that man should be alone. I'll make a helpmeet for him. Right, and out of the ground is a space you're going into a woman being a help, right? Let's read what this this is going into 1 Corinthians 11:9 says, neither was man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. So the woman was basically created for the help, to be a help unto a man. There's a precept I'm thinking of. I cannot for the life of me. Yeah, here it is. Sirach 36:24. Says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, right? A help like unto himself and a pillar of rest, right? So that's what a good woman is supposed to be, right? Right now we've just got, for the most part, we've just got beasts, okay, out here, okay? So let's carry on, right? So then this is the point that I kind of wanted to touch on, right? So he then goes on, let me see if I can just jump back a few seconds. Yeah, so then goes on to say, in the Asante, if a woman is menstruating, she can't cook for you, it's just not allowed, right? And for us in this thing of ours, immediately we read that, was like, oh snap, that's certainly something that we in this thing, right, we're like, oh, we don't that's not something we do, right? Because she's supposed to be separated, right? I really should have had this prepared from before, right? This is Leviticus 15, and I don't know if I'll read it all, but I'll start from 19, right? It's talking about menstrual cycle, right? It says, and if a woman have an issue, and the issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put away 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until even, right? Everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean, and everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean, right? So basically in this period of time, she's unclean, okay? So when they're basically saying that she's not allowed to cook, she's not allowed to do certain things for you, right? That is very much part of the precepts, right? It's part of the law, right? I'm trying to remember how it's phrased in Romans. Let me see if I'm just looking on my other screen. Yep, right there, shy. All right, so bring it over here. Right, this is Romans 2 and 14, for then Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are law unto themselves, right? Because they which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean while excusing or else excusing one another. Let me see what that sounds like in the NLT. Romans 2 NLT. Bring it over. Right, so I was reading from 14, right? So it says, even Gentiles who do not have God's written law show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it, even without having heard it, right? Now, when you watch all of this clip, I don't really remember what else was kind of said in this. Too tough. I just really stuck on this bit. The rest of it was kind of just like how each man kind of deals with his situation, right? Which what the scripture say on that, right? Right, this is nope, not that one. This is, I believe it's in Ecclesiastes. If I can spell. Bear with me, Salakia. Oh yeah. So this is Proverbs, it says Proverbs 30 and 19. I gotta read into it. 18 says, there be 3 things which are too wonderful for me, 4 which I know not. It says the way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid. Right. So no one, ultimately, how a man deals, with his woman. Right, as long as no adultery or guan, right? No, basically no laws are broken. That's none of another man's business, right? Ultimately, if no laws are being broken, it is what it is, right? Now if we hear there's some booty bandit stuff happening, then of course it's gonna be cursed out, okay? Because people, oh no, what I do with my woman's much, nah, bro, they're still gonna follow the law, okay? So let's jump back into this, right? So what was I saying? This is verse 14, right? Romans 2:14 in the NLT. Even Gentiles who do not have the Most High's law, written law, right, show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it, right? It's in their spirit, right? We can jump into that as well. This is Romans 8:16, right? It says the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, right? There are several things, that some people just, in the spirit, they just do, right? That's why in the West Coast, right, of Africa, right, you basically see a load of people, for instance, that will be circumcised on the 8th day, right? It's not just the fact that they're circumcised, it's the fact that they're circumcised on the 8th day, right? So I'm just checking something out whilst it's still on my mind. So carrying on, right? So let's back in Romans. What you call it, in Romans 2 and 14 in the NLT, right? It says they 15 now. So they demonstrate that God's law is written in their hearts, for their own conscience and thoughts either accuse them or tell them they are doing right. Okay, so when basically he's saying that when she's on this, in fact, let's read that again, right? So in Asante, if a woman is menstruating, she can't cook for you, it's just not allowed, right? Going to show you, proven once again, right, that these Asante men, right, basically they understood this was something that was in them, okay? So let me now touch on this other thing. In fact, before we go there, let's see what some of these comments are basically go into, right? So it says so let me see. It says, sometimes you wonder. It says you can see that that's a geezer right there, right? Now I know Instagram's gonna block me before I scroll further, right? But it says a whole bunch of grown-ups on some bullshit view. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen, right? And it goes, what if both wives have the same menstrual cycle? Kiss my teeth. Right, it's a chick saying that, right, which got another chick saying that, ooh, Chili, I'm happy to be an independent woman that has her own damn money. I wouldn't do well in these shenanigans. I basically, you're westernized. Okay. So my blood pressure went right up watching this, right? Or, these are all either, apart from that one homosexual. Apart from this one homosexual slut. Oh, forgive me. Because the reason why it's so funny, because it's just like, bro, like, they're talking about having bare gal, yet this man, and the thing is, and this is the key, bare, different women in order, because this same guy be sleeping, I can almost guarantee you, he be sleeping with other men's women, right? Just popping them and dipping, right? Which that's out of order. In fact, that's straight up wickedness, right? But then even if she's not, if she's so-called single, right? He's popping it, then he's just leaving it, right? That ain't really the way things should be, right? Even when you let's jump over into this real quick, right? It says Matthew. I'm gonna take a punt here. Yeah, right, Matthew 19 and 5, right? It says, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain, two, which means two, shall be one flesh, right? It says, quoting Genesis 2:24. It says, wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore the Most High hath joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? He saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. Right, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. Right, and whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery. All right. So basically, the way that it was originally written to be was that you deal with a woman, right? You have sex with a woman, because according to the precept, sex is marriage, and that's your wife forever. Okay. In the kingdom, when we lay with a woman, that's our woman forever, right? And that will be the only man she will ever know, right? And when you look at the anatomy of the, slight biology, but when you look at the anatomy of the vagina, right, the Lord designed it such that it shapes into, her man, right? So the idea, even this whole conversation topic about, he's got a small penis or a big penis, whatever, it doesn't actually matter, right? Because the Most High designed the vagina to expand and to basically fit the form that basically enters into it, right? And the vagina, I think by default, it's only like 3 inches, okay, by default, right? And it's just more that it gets shaped, to the man that she's with, okay. So a lot of the mess, a lot of the different talking points we have in this world is just purely because this world is out of whack, okay. So and it's out of order, okay. So yeah, and the Most High basically designed it such that we were ultimately gonna be one, a one woman with a man, right? As in, so I'm trying to phrase it. It's a one-to-many relationship. Right, so the man has many wives, but she has a one-to-one relationship, okay. So yeah, let's read some of these other dumbass comments, right? So it says, yeah, all of these Eves, right, nonsense, talking as if they were born with hands that can cook and take care of themselves. I think she meant can't, right? I think this Jake is for it. Says the ladies won't understand, but that's the best. Ooh. But today, instead of being married to one man, they rather right. So this is, but today, instead of being married to one man, they rather be 3rd or 4th baby moms to one man, right? So basically, once again, this idea of they don't like the women in these comments and others that are hearing this, right? They have an issue with the way that this is, right? But then they have less of an issue, basically being in a dysfunctional system where it's just like their baby number 3, their baby mom number 3, their baby mom number 4, right? And just all out of order. Whereas what we see here is all order, right? And that's pretty much, because at the end of the day, right, that world of what they call polygyny, right? Because you've got polygamy, which is the umbrella term, if I'm not mistaken, and polygyny is specifically referring to when a man has multiple wives, and I believe polyamory is the opposite, right? When a woman has, what you call multiple husbands, which, the sad thing is, in this world, you get mans that are down with that. Okay, their woman sharing their woman around, which is just straight up wickedness. Okay, this is Isaiah 4. Right, because all of these different comments, right, all of these women will eat their words, right. Is this a bitch? What's going on there? I can't even tell, but it's a Jake, and yeah, it looks like U.S. Army fatigues, right? Excuse my French on that, by the way. Right, some cultures are BS, absolute BS, but that's your culture, okay. In fact, let's grab that. Right, this is 1 Kings 11, right from the top, right? It says, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughters of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites. Oof, I love me some Moab and Ammon, right? Some Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, right? It says, of the nations concerning which the Lord Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, right? Ye shall not go in unto them, neither shall they come in unto you, but surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, right? So you can't have them. Basically, they've got their position, right, which is as concubines, right, i.e. lesser wives, right? Now, concubines in this world has the notion of like sex slave. That's not what we're on. Okay, they're just lesser wives. Okay, Esau's all about that sex slave shit. That's not what we're on now. Will we be getting down? Of course, we'll be getting down. Okay, but not in this weird, wacky way that Esau be doing. Okay, it says verse 3 says, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Right, which ultimately is why Moses said, don't deal with them. Okay, now the kingdom, we gonna be fully righteous, and they ain't gonna be able to turn away our hearts from the Lord, right? But we will certainly be having multiple wives, okay, because that's how we're gonna be replenishing the kingdom, right? This is Isaiah 60. From I'll read from 21 because it's beautiful, right? So thy people also shall be all righteous, right? And that's a beautiful thing to look forward to, right? The fact that we see Jake in their in their what's the word? So I just blanked out for a second. I'll read it again. Lord's will comes back, right? Isaiah 60:21, thy people all shall be all righteous. Yeah, so we look forward to a kingdom where, as a nation, we're all good, right? It ain't nice, on one part, just we're good, but then all of our brothers are bugged out. It's sort of like if you live in a nice area, imagine coming out of your nice area straight into dereliction, right? Or you live in a nice area and you look outside your window and you're seeing slums, right? That's not a nice environment. What we'd rather see, right, is to look out of our window and see everything blessed, which is what we're gonna get in the kingdom, right? I'm not, and in that framing, not just talking about probably, I'm talking about as a nation, right? Just looking out at your brother, right, and he's good, right? You see another Israelite, they're good, and even an Israelite that so-called ain't that good is still good. It's gooder than good, and that's what we look forward to, right? No Jakes on drugs, no Jakes sleeping on the streets, right? No Jakes, tatted up, just straight up bugged out as they are. No Jake Moes, right? That all of that stuff dies here. Okay, so it says, they shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and the strong one is strong, and the small one is strong nation, and I Yahweh will hasten it in his time. Okay, so basically we're going to be multiplied, right? And to have that multiplication, we're going to have multiple wives, because that is something that the Most High has allowed for us. Okay, we can read that here. It's Isaiah 4:1, in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man. That's referring to like a complete amount of women. Okay, going into how we as a nation the Lord is going to allow us to have. So let me run that again, right? And as this world, starts to end, right, we're going to start seeing how women are going to start, latching on to the men of the Lord. Okay. So, and that seven, once again, it's not a literal seven. A man's going to have however the Most High allows it such. Okay, it goes on to say, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Basically, take care of us, right? We ain't going to be a burden to you, right? Let us just be under your umbrella of protection, under your hedge of protection. Okay, which the way of doing that is, by way of a sex. All right, that's how the marriage is consummated according to the scriptures, right? So, like I said, a few points, from this video here. All of these people, all of these ease, which, goes show you what the scripture says, she that is mine enemy, right? Which, for us, the fact of the matter is, all of these women, all of these people outside of this truth, they are our enemy, right? And there ain't nothing, that's really going to change that. So the Lord, gives any of us, something to deal with, right? At the end of the day, you're dealing with a demon. Okay, so as always, those were us edifying. Right, to the next time we say shalom.